On September 1st, 2011, students from across the United States arrived at El Hotel Casa de Fels in Barcelona, Spain. This was our orientation, and it included a city tour, a classic Spanish meal, and a meet and greet with all the students so we could later go out that night and explore Barcelona with our new friends. What a great way to begin our adventure abroad, right? Or so I was told, because I wasn't there. Okay, picture this. You get off your connecting flight in Madrid and you're so close to Barcelona you can taste it. So you have an hour to get to your next gate. But you're not stressing. How hard could it be? You start to realize that all the signs are in Spanish and you're a little rusty with your vocab. So you ask help from an employee. After talking to him for a few minutes, you're left even more confused as to where to go. This happens 3 more times with 3 different employees. Now you're getting a little worried. While you're walking around aimlessly, you feel a tug on your shoulder. It's security telling you, in Spanish, you can't skip the visa checkpoint. He points to the end of the line, and it's long. You finally get through the checkpoint, and you found your gate. What a relief. And while you're waiting in line with your ticket and your passport in your hand, you start to realize that you're the only person in line that isn't Asian. Why? Because this isn't your flight to Barcelona, this is a flight to Thailand. Now you're panicking. You have 15 minutes to get to the right gate. When you finally get there, you're told that your flight has already taken off, the next flight is in 5 hours, and you're gonna need to pay €200 for a new ticket. I wish I could blame this unfortunate experience on being jet lagged, but that wasn't the case. I was hit with culture shock when I stepped off the plane, literally. I was not aware of how extreme the differences would be compared to home. I didn't prepare myself to go abroad. So throughout my trip, I had to live with the what ifs. In this case, I missed out on my orientation, and I came into my experience as the new girl who missed her flight, and it took me a little longer to become friends with everyone. But what if that didn't happen? I wish I could say that that was my only experience with culture shock, but that wasn't the case. About 2 weeks after arriving in Barcelona, we all headed out to the discoteca. I bought a brand new camera before my trip, and I brought it out with us that night. While we danced around with no concerns whatsoever, I realized that my purse felt a little lighter. I checked my bag, my camera was gone. I was a victim of pickpocketing. I never had anything stolen from me in my life. I was not aware of how common it was for students to be pickpocketed in Barcelona. I felt so violated that someone was rummaging through my bag, my personal things, while it was on my shoulder, and that feeling haunted me for the rest of my trip. Sure, there's going to be little things you'll discover while you're abroad, like when you figure out Europe uses the metric system, or realizing the stove is set to Celsius. And when someone tells you it's 30 degrees outside, I would put on a bathing suit. But some small changes won't be so harmless. My friend Morgan from home, who was studying abroad in Florence, asked me if I was interested in meeting up in San Sebastian, a city in northern Spain. Of course I said yes, because I wanted to travel as much as possible, and around this time I was feeling very homesick, so it would be great to see a familiar face. So we began planning. Our schedules allowed us to book a flight for a Friday evening. When I got to the airport the day of my departure, I couldn't find my flight. Why couldn't I find it? Because when I booked my flight for 7:30 in the evening, I chose this time. However, if I had known about military time used abroad, I would have chosen this time. So the flight I was supposed to take had departed 12 hours earlier. I couldn't afford to rebook it, and I had to contact Morgan to tell her I was not meeting up with her. All of these issues I had traveling abroad were beyond frustrating. I still had a great time, but I always had to live with the what ifs. What if I didn't miss my orientation and went out that first night? What if I had the money I spent on another flight and used it to travel somewhere like Prague or Berlin? What if I was more aware of my belongings and had more pictures from my trip? And what if I did go on that weekend getaway with my friend while I was feeling homesick? The what ifs are very difficult to live with, but are easily avoidable. You wouldn't go scuba diving without an oxygen mask or skydiving without a parachute, and preparing yourself for studying abroad is also essential. Because when you complete your adventures overseas, you want to rest assured you had no doubts, no regrets, and no what ifs. Your main concern is to make your experience unforgettable.